ask the two of you for a favor?
Does it take the both of us?
No, actually, it just takes one. But it's imperative that I speak to Rick Weber the minute he comes into the hospital. I bet I've talked to him before he starts in the operating room.
I'm afraid you're too late. Rick's already here.
Oh, is he?
I could try the patient for you.
Would you please? It's very important that I talk to him before he starts.
Well, I see what I can do.
Thank you. Well, how are you?
I am still shocked, Joe. I can't believe all this business about Frank Smith.
Well, I guess a lot of people are going to take it that way, yeah.
Is it true?
You bet your bippy it's true.
You don't seem very surprised by it.
You can hardly expect me to be.
Called a lot of nurses.
This is the big case I've been working on for the last year.
The one you wouldn't tell me about.
One and the same, yeah.
I can't believe you've kept it all to yourself. I mean, it's so completely incredible. And you've been friendly with him? You've been seeing him?
Yeah, it's part of the job. It's not easy, but that's what I did, yeah.
Yeah, of course. I'm sorry.
Let's just hope this key witness lives. We need him to corroborate the evidence that's in Frank Smith's little black book. Without that, Frankie may just slip through our fingers.
Rick is waiting for a blood cross match, so he can talk to you for a minute.
Oh, great. Thank you, Jesse.
Joe was just telling me that he's been working on the Frank Smith case for the past 2 years. You mean you knew the whole truth all along?
Well, I didn't know it. I mean, we suspected it. That's what the job was, finding the proof.
Who's we?
I was working with the police department, Jesse.
Joe, it scares me to death to think that this man might be able to get off someday.
That's one of the dangers you run. And the higher up a man is in an organization like this, the more difficult it is to make a conviction stick. Ah.
Yes, Joe.
I'm sorry to interrupt your work, Rick, but it's important that I do talk to you.
Well, I got to go into surgery, but I do have a couple minutes while I wait for a cross-match of my patient.
That's exactly what I want to talk to you about, your patient. And it's very urgent.
Let's do it. I'll go out.
All right, it's all set. Contacted everybody, and they all said they could make it.
I'd be very much surprised if anybody refused under the circumstances.
Look, I think we have to decide on our position before we go in. I know one thing for sure. I'm not going in there holding my hat in my hand and apologizing a mile a minute. I admit I showed poor judgment in recommending Frank as a board member, but that could happen to anyone.
Well, the board accepted him quickly enough.
Well, they'll just say that because of my recommendation.
I don't think they ought to do that. As a matter of fact, I remember one of them, Ben, I think it was, saying that he had the same idea and would have suggested it if you hadn't.
That's right, he did. And Steve, I wouldn't worry about poor judgment. You know, I can be accused of the same thing for having Smith as a client and recommending him to you to take over the vacancy on the board. Simple truth is I was totally taken in by the man.
You did check on him, though.
Oh, yeah, we ran an investigation because of some rumors we heard about how he got started in business down the waterfront.
And your man didn't find anything, did he?
No, nothing at all. Everybody came back with the same report. Frank was a leading citizen of Port Charles and a force to be reckoned with.
Well, he's led us all down the garden path, no question about that. Dan, the board may ask for my resignation.
Why, they'd be crazy to do that. You won't turn in a letter of resignation.
Well, I wouldn't have much choice if they really wanted it.
Well, I'd have to follow suit then, Steve. I'd have to resign from the board. I couldn't very well represent the hospital as legal counsel, not in the future.
No, I don't suppose they'd have much faith in your judgment after this. It's a pretty high price to pay for us, isn't it, Lee?
A lot higher than I want to go.
Strange thing about money. The way it seduces a person.
What do you mean?
I wanted that money that Frank was so eager to give us to fund the Peter Taylor Memorial Scholarship and later on the new teaching wing, enough to close my eyes and not ask any questions. Not a very noble confession, is it?
It's very understandable, Steve. Thinking of what was best for the hospital, that's all.
Well, that doesn't keep it from being touched with vanity, Lee. I'm afraid I was guilty of that. And excessive pride.
Well, somehow, I didn't quite expect to find you singing today.
Hi, Howard. How are you? I always sing when I'm alone. Some people talk to themselves. I sing. So, how are you?
I'm fine.
Good.
I must say you're in pretty good spirits, all things considered.
What things in particular?
Haven't you heard about Frank Smith?
No, heard what? Has anything happened to him?
Why don't we sit down?
Howard, tell me what's happened.
Oh, this may come as a bit of a shock. The police have arrested him.
Oh, no, for what?
Well, according to my sources, he's been charged with several accounts of conspiracy to commit murder. Well, I don't have all the details yet.
Wow, I'm stunned.
I know how you must feel.
No, I don't think you do know. I've been warned by just about everybody about him, and I refused to face the facts. I just couldn't stand the thought of thinking anything bad about him, Howard.
Well, nothing's been proven yet, although it probably will be.
This is just incredible. You know, Joe Kelly said all along that he... Oh, never mind about that. Jeez, I feel sorry for him.
Hey, save your sympathy. You can find better places to invest it.
Yeah, how about myself? Feel sorry for me, too. This sure throws a curve into all my plans.
I don't know about that. Now, how do you feel that Frank's arrest is going to affect you?
Well, for one thing, I make my living here. All those stories you've been hearing about my being independently wealthy are strictly publicity.
Susan, if worse comes to worse, you can always find a job.
Howard, that's not the point. You know it. I had delusions of grandeur. Damn, I really wanted to find some way to buy this place from him legitimately.
All right, now, we talked about that, and that's why I'm here. I don't think this is going to affect that.
Oh, well, what am I going to do? Go down while he's in police custody and make him an offer?
I think it's an ideal time to do that. I mean, considering his present circumstances, I think he'd be open to any offer he would get on any one of his businesses. After all, he can't very well operate his businesses from prison, can he? Absentee ownership never worked out very well.
Howard, do you really think they'll send him to prison?
I don't think there's any question about it. I thought, maybe if you just wait a week or two, you'll be able to get this place for a pretty fair price. Susan, if they're able to prove what they're charging Frank Smith with, he's finished. Might be worth waiting to see.
I feel like a vulture circling around him.
Look, there's nothing wrong with taking advantage of a good opportunity when it comes along.
No, I guess you're right. Oh, poor Frank. I wonder what they'll do to him.
And I tell you, I want guaranteed immunity from prosecution before I make any more statements to you about anything at all. My lawyer has advised me of my rights, and I'm not going to be railroaded.
But we also advise you of your rights, Frank, and nobody is trying to railroad you, believe me, but I don't think you're in a position to make deals right now.
I am. As long as I have something you want. Frank's cooperation.
We don't need it. We have the black book.
I want my client out on bail.
Oh, really? Do you know if the press believes that Frank here is being a cooperative witness and that he is naming names for us, his life isn't going to be worth a plug nickel out there. Frank, I am going to break this organization in this town, and you're going to help me whether you want to or not. So why don't you get smart and start telling me what you know right now?
Again, you don't frighten me, Ramsey.
You're going to play tough, huh? Well, we can play tough, too. Let me... Come in. What is it, Carl?
Excuse me, Captain Ramsey. Can I speak with you alone?
No, I'm too busy.
It's important.
Excuse me. What is it, Carl? Oh, sure. Yeah, well, listen, no, I think, yes, we certainly should. The two friends of Mr. Smith's who are out there who want to say hello to him, we'll bring them in.
What friend?
Two gentlemen out there who want to see you, Frank. I think it's a good idea. It'll give you a feeling of what it's going to be like during visiting days from now on. Hello, Cliff.
So I think you'll see that it's important that you know this fellow Hutchins is not just another patient. He's one of the men that Frank Smith hired to go track down and kill both Laura and Luke.
And you're sure of that?
Oh, yeah, I bet you. We're lucky we stopped him in time. Just incredible. any idea who shot him? No, not at all. We do know that it happened up in the shootout, up at Fair Oaks. There's another hitman killed in the same shooting. I guess Hutch was fortunate. He only stopped a bullet.
I don't know how fortunate. He's in very bad shape right now.
Yeah, he must be bad, because they brought him all the way here from Fair Oaks for you to operate on him.
Joe, this changes things.
I don't understand.
I will not be able to perform the surgery.
Why?
Because I'm going to have to disqualify myself as the surgeon. Sorry.
I'm sorry, you've lost me now. Why?
Because I would be fighting to save the life of a man who was trying to kill my daughter. I wouldn't trust myself in there.
All right, I see that point. Fine, but I mean, the guy's got a bullet lodged in his heart. You can't just turn around and walk away from him.
I won't be walking away from him. He'll have the best possible treatment. Monica can do the surgery, and I will assist, that's all.
Oh.
I'll check with Steve. I'm sure he'll understand.
Okay, there's one thought. Captain Ramsey of the PCPD wanted to make sure you understand.
What is that?
This man Hutchins has to be saved at any cost.
Why is his life so important?
Because he is a key witness against Frank Smith. He may be able to corroborate some evidence we found in a black book. It's sort of a list of criminal operations in Port Charles and the people that are involved with it.
Joe, he will have the best possible treatment. I guarantee you that. From Dr. Quartermain. But not from me.
Is there anything you'd like to say to me, Cliff?
Are you asking me to make a statement?
If you'd like to.
I wouldn't advise it.
And I wouldn't advise you to open your mouth again. I could make it easier on you if you'd cooperate with us.
I have nothing to say to anybody.
No? Well, I think you'd better have something to say to Mr. Jennings here. Because you need the best you can get. You're going to need it desperately. You know, Cliff, if there's anything a cop hates worse than a cop killer, it's a cop who's also a killer. You think about that, will you? Long and hard. Now, you better get out of here because just the sight of you makes me sick to my stomach. Get them out of here, will you? Both of them. Let's go. Make you nervous, does it?
It shocks me to think that people who have been associated with me could be involved in criminal activities.
Oh, I think you're starting to sweat, Frank. And you should. Because, you know, a lot of live bodies have been showing up around here. And live men tell tales.
Are you through with me?
No, not by a long shot. So why don't you just sit down?
Very well.
Now I'd like to talk to you about some dead bodies that we've been coming up with for quite a while, going all the way back to Ted DeLuca and Bill Watson. You haven't forgotten your good friends and employees, have you, Frank? Because I certainly haven't forgotten them.
I'd like to speak with my client in private.